Top of the day, beautiful people. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. It is April the 21st, 2022, day 88 of year 4 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1106. Today, we're picking back up where we left off in the OAHSPE on page 22. And then we'll move on to the meditation book today, which we didn't get to yesterday, picking up where we left off at on page 54. All right, so with that being said, let's get it popping. Father, thank you for another day being here, learning truth. All right. Okay, so in the OAHSPE on page 22, we're starting at the bottom of the page, chapter 7. Levine, blessings, blessings. Okay, y'all. As mortals sail corporal ships across the corporal ocean, so sailed the ship of God in the atmospherian ocean. As a man having 5 sons sendeth 4 away to far-off countries and keepeth one at home, so did God with the 5 lords bequeath him by great Jehovah. And now God had departed from the foundation of Horeb in a ship in heaven to visit his 4 far-off sons, the Lord of the 4 great divisions of the earth, who had to do with both mortals and the spirits of the dead, for the glory of Jehovah, the 4 corners of the earth, right? Demi, shalom, auntie. Belinda Brown, shalom, shalom. And now God had departed from the foundation of Horeb in a ship in heaven to visit his 4 far-off sons, the lords of the 4 great divisions of the earth, who had to do with both mortals and the spirits of the dead, for the glory of Jehovah. First, to Jud, or it could be Jude. Maybe it's Jud, it's just J-U-D, so we'll just say Jud. First to Jud, Lord of Jud. He headed his ship running close to the earth, bound forth and sapping up fuel from the tall forest to feed the phosphorescent flame. Okay, read again. First to Jud, Lord of Jud, he headed his ship, running close to the earth, bounding forth and sapping up fuel from the tall forest to feed the phosphorescent flame, running easily till the wild coast on the west of Waga was reached. Here halted he his ship, first God of the first lords of earth, till his navigators told the distance of the wide sea before. Then gathering fuel and substance from the rich growing lands, he stowed the ship to the full, he and his traveling host. And God went in, commanding, go forth into the sea of heaven. And on plunged the ship of God in the winds of the blue firmament. And firmament has reference number 4. It says, in the blue winds of the blue firmament. Yeah. In the blue winds of the blue firmament. Okay. High soaring above the black clouds sprung from the corporal ocean, and the music of his 1,000 Isinars leaped forth in time and tuned to the waters, plenteous and most defiant. Excuse me, y'all. I need some tissue. The pollen, my sinuses. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. All right. Jehovah looked down from the highest of all the heavens, his everlasting throne of thrones, saying, onward, onward, tame the elements, O God, O man, the earth is thine, the air above is thine, stretch forth thine arm, and tame the elements I have made. Onward sped the ship of God, by the force of wheels matured, and from its hollow light displaying its purpose before other traveling gods and men in other ships, cruising on adventurous paths in Jehovah's wide oceans of splendor. Merrily sang the crew and danced, and sighted the wide expanse, premising of the scattering ships, coursing hither and yon in strange colors and marvelous swiftness. On one side the rising moon, the setting sun on the other. Beneath lie the black clouds and great corporal ocean, and yet high above twinkled the stars and the planets of the great serpent on his long journey. God came forth and surveyed the scene, and the power of Jehovah moved upon him. Then gathered around him his 7,000 loves and traveling companions. God said, "All thy places are new, great Jehovah. For thousands of years I have gazed on thy matchless splendors, seen and unseen, but thy glory groweth richer day by day. When thy voice came to me more than 100 years ago, saying, 'Go on, my son, I have a new garden planted. Take some workmen and till the soil,' I foresaw the long labor of the generations that would spring up out of the earth. I feared and trembled, I said, 'How shall it be, O Jehovah? Shall the new earth be peopled over, and mortals run their course as on other worlds before? First in wholesome love and worship and due reverence to the gods, and then for ages and ages bury themselves in bloody wars? O lead me forth, Father, Jehovah. I will take thy garden for a season, and fenced it round about with lords and wise kingdoms, and with thy potent spirit hedge mortals on every side, that the earth shall bloom as a paradise for angels and men. And thy sons and daughters came with me and engrafted thy immortal kingdom. How is it now? How compares my labor with that of the other gods on other worlds? O ye archangels, gods and goddesses, look down on the great earth. Jehovah hath filled my arms with a great load. I tremble on the immortal scales. And God, transfixed, looked up into the swift passing sky, for his voice reached to the thrones of Etherian worlds, whereon the Osirian regents reigned in all power. And down from amidst the stars shot a single ray of light, engrossed with the adorable words, Jehovah's Son, all hail, hail, God of earth, Jehovah's Son. Glory, glory to great Jehovah for all that thou hast done. Then upward furled the shining light till it faded midst the far-off stars. Anew the trumpeters and singers sent forth a strain of sweet music, spirited and sounding full of soul. And as the music glided forth across the waters, lo, other music, strange and welcome, came from the westlands to the borders of the ocean. The ship was across the sea, and the host of the Lord had come to meet the God of earth and heaven. And now, saluting loud and long, the two ships drew close. The two ships drew to close anchorage. Presently, the messengers interchanged, and in Jehovah's name greeted God and his hosts, who were old-time friends to the Lord and his. God said, "By thy will, O Jehovah, let us take course for the Lord's kingdom and place of labor." And presently the two ships sped forth close to the earth, conjoined in the music of anthems of old times. Far up into the heart of the country, where fertile lands and mountains and waters were close companion to the Asuan race, the ships led on till one pillar of fire, standing on a mountainside, proclaimed the place of the Lord. And here they halted and made fast the vessels unseen by mortals. Trina, hey girl, hey Shayla, that's Wabu, Robin, shalom, shalom, Jerry, oh great spirit creator of all, glory and praise to you, hallelujah. Rita, good morning. Francis, shalom. All right, y'all. I'm sorry about yesterday. I don't know when it cut off, but when I finally looked up, I saw that everybody was gone. And the screen was froze. I'm sorry. Okay. Chapter 8. These chieftains had been long friends on their worlds and pledged to join in an adventure on some new corporal worlds to raise up Jehovah, sons and daughters. Now it was being fulfilled in the Lord and God remotely situated, and the time of this visit much looked forward to. And so God and the Lord came forth, saying, in Jehovah's name, met at last. And they embraced and reassured each other that it was really true, which they had talked of 1,000 years before. And then came forward all the host of God and the host of the Lord, knowing one another and saluting and embracing also. Thereupon they proceeded to the house of the Lord, which mortals had been inspired to build of wood and clay. And when they were within, they joined in prayer and thanks to Jehovah, and they sang and danced and rejoiced to their souls' content. At sunrise the next morning, the mortal priests and priestesses, led by a prophet, went into the house of the Lord to pray and sing and dance, as they had been taught by inspiration of the Lord. But many people lingered without, saying to one another, I fear, to hop. Is in parentheses to hop, TA space HOP. I fear, to hop. For last night I saw lights in the house of the Lord, and I heard like singing and dancing before the altar of God. Nevertheless, their companions persuaded them, and they went in and sang and danced also. After a time of rejoicing and of quiet, the Lord said, Behold, O God, the follies of judgment and the vain calculations of even lords and gods. We look upon the mature man, saying, Alas, he is stubborn in his own way. We cannot convert him. Then we desire the immature, saying, Him will I raise up in my own way, and he shall not depart from my judgment. But we tire of his immaturity and slow growth. God said, Hereon hangeth the highest testimony of the person of great Jehovah, the nearest blank of all the living created, he man, purposely unlike all the rest and devoid of sense. Let me read this again. He said we all stupid. Okay, hold on. God said, Hereon hangeth the highest testimony of the person of great Jehovah, the nearest blank of all the living created, he man, purposely unlike all the rest and devoid of sense. Whereas, according to the order of the other animal world, a newborn babe should already be wise. Yeah, I guess kinda. They do mature a whole lot faster than we do. Some babies are out the womb and within an hour they up and running because they got to run for their life. Mom, shalom, shalom. Jehovah saith, All the living have I provided with certain paths to travel in, but man alone I created new out of all things, dead and dissolved, and he shall grow forever. That's highlight worthy. Okay. I'm going to read it again. We in chapter 8 of Book of Sethanes, Son of Jehovah, chapter 8, which is on page 23 of the OAHSPE. Verse 9. Jehovah saith, All the living have I provided with certain paths to travel in, but man alone I created new out of all things, dead and dissolved, and he shall grow forever. To the beast I gave an already created sense, and in parentheses after sense it says self, and it also has reference number 5, and it says sense, and in parentheses it says instinct. So to the beast I gave an already created sense, self, or instinct. They are, animals have instinct, animal instinct. Okay, y'all got it. To the beast I gave an already created sense, self. To man I allotted angels, and even these I have provided with others above them, and yet others above them forever and ever. Hence, the first man, the newborn babe, I created a blank in sense and judgment, that he may be a witness that even he himself was fashioned and created anew by my hand. Neither created I him imperfectly, that he should re-enter a womb and be born over again. That which I do is well done, saith Jehovah. We might need to rethink some things. Let's just get all the way through it. Keep everything on the table for the time being. We got to see this thing all the way through. Okay, I'm going to read that again. I'm going to just go back up and read the whole verse 9 again. Jehovah said, all living things have I provided with certain paths to travel in, but man alone I created new out of all things, dead and dissolved, and he shall grow forever. To the beast I gave an already created sense, self. To man I allotted angels, and even these I have provided with others above them, and yet others above them forever and ever. Hence the first of man, the newborn babe, I created a blank in sense and judgment, that he may be a witness that even he himself was fashioned and created anew by my hand. Neither created I him imperfectly, that he should re-enter a womb and be born over again. That which I do is well done, said Jehovah. The Lord said, thou art wise, O God. The opposites prove Jehovah. Water runneth downhill, but man walketh up the hillside. The tree groweth out of the ground whilst it liveth, but after death it falleth. Man standeth on the earth, but the earth resteth on that which is lighter than the earth. Jehovah said, the life of the tree is of me. The unseen that holdeth the corporal earth in its place is of me. And yet, O God, who can attain to know Jehovah? The mortal saith, when I am dead and risen in heaven, I shall see the Great Spirit. But he faileth, being still helpless, yea, as helpless in his place as he was helpless on the earth. Then he saith, when I am strong and wise, like lords and gods, and can traverse the wide firmament, then I will see Jehovah. But when he riseth and can shape his vessel through the whirlwinds of the vortices of heaven, and he is called Lord or God, lo, he findeth the arks and the ether standing before him still. More and more he is appalled at the thought of the great I am, who still liveth beyond. You can't hear me? Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? That definitely might be your device. If nobody else said anything. Uncle JP, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Maybe he went out and came back in. All right. Shut it down and bring it back up. Verse 12. He hurrieth down to the corporal earth to teach mortals and spirits of Jehovah and his endless worlds. And, hold on. Yeah, let me start over. I'll be reading too fast sometimes. Okay. He hurrieth down to the corporal earth to teach mortals and spirits of Jehovah and his endless worlds and exalted heavens. But lo, the darkness of men, they say, I see him not, I hear him not, I believe not in him. He is but as the wind going without sense, as the water goeth down the hill, so is he is dead, he is nothing. And the Lord inventeth ways and means, yea, he teacheth man to pray and sing to Jehovah, that the sounds may lead his soul upward. The Lord telleth him to wear clothes and hide his nakedness from the Lord. And the Lord sendeth angels to award him for his good deeds. And the angels of the Lord lay plots and stratagems in man's pathway to stir him up. Oh, that's good. Right? All the time it ain't the devil messing with y'all. Y'all trying to get your attention, trying to help you grow a little bit more. Okay. I'm gonna read it again. Verse 13. And the Lord inventeth ways and means, yea, he teacheth man to pray and sing to Jehovah, that the sounds may lead his soul upward. The Lord telleth him to wear clothes, and hide his nakedness from the Lord. And the Lord sendeth angels to award him for his good deeds. And the angels of the Lord lay plots and stratagems in man's pathway to stir him up. Yea, Jehovah gave man sleep, so that his corporal bound spirit might see and hear heavenly things. But man loadeth his stomach, and debaucheth on intoxicating smoke and drink, till his soul is buried in darkness. Y'all better stop it. We all better stop it. Clearly, look, we ain't gonna talk about smoke and drink, because I've never been a smoker or a drinker, but I definitely know about food. Look, when you feel, especially if you're meat eaters and you eat heavy stuff, there's definitely a difference from being full with flesh and a bunch of cooked starchy foods than it is being full of plant life. I could eat a huge bowl of salad, and I could add all the different type of toppings, make it real colorful and everything. I could literally eat a huge bowl or a huge plate and not be stuffed. But I could never, in my wildest dreams, eat that much cooked food on a plate. I would probably pass out, burst, regurgitate, or something, right? And when you eat heavy foods, flesh, cooked, whatever, it makes you feel extremely heavy. You get the itis. You get the meat sweats, right? You can't, I ain't gonna say you can't think straight, but shortly after, you gotta go lay down somewhere, right? Your body starts sweating. Even if okay, here's something I learned just by paying attention to my body. When I'm eating raw for a few days and I eat something cooked, it could even just be steamed vegetable. It could just be steamed or lightly sauteed vegetables, right? When I put cooked food in my body, I get a temperature, right? My body starts to heat up. And it's like it's fighting off something foreign. I'm like, maybe, I'm not saying y'all shouldn't eat cooked food. I'm just saying I'm noticing the different changes and stuff in my body, right? So that's why one of my ultimate goals is to be, I ain't gonna say fully raw. I mean, because I still like some cooked food. I really do. Sometimes the heat is just good to the soul. I remember Jeremiah when he had, well, he kind of like back and forth now. But when he had went straight raw vegan, he was good. But when he got like halfway through that second month, he said, Mom, you gonna cook some soup or something? Maybe make a pot of beans. I was like, what was wrong with you? He was like, I feel like I need something warm. I miss the warmth of food. I just need something warm. I said, boy, you'll be all right. But I know exactly what he's talking about, and it's good, I guess, sometimes, especially in the wintertime. I say I try to save that for the wintertime, especially if you have issues with like anemia and you're cold all the time. There's just an iron deficiency. Eat fruits and veggies full of iron. You can juice it and then that issue will go away. But anyway, let me back to this. Hold on. Yea, Jehovah gave man sleep, so that his corporal bound spirit might see and hear heavenly things. But man loadeth his stomach and debaucheth on intoxicating smoke and drink, till his soul is buried in darkness. And you can't, the whole reason for me even saying that, it's like when you fill yourself up on those things, it doesn't matter whether if it's you inhale and you're taking fire in your chest and it's smoke. You literally cloud out, you drown out, and you fill yourself up with foods to where you can't hear the spiritual realm. If it's debauchery, you go into like this drunken stupor, right? You start talking out the side of your mouth. It just depends on what kind of drunk you are. Some drunks get mellowed out. Some drunks get rowdy, right? Either way, you can't hear the voice of Yah. And if you're smoking, you whether you get high or you're smoking something where you're not getting high, you're still taking fire into your lungs, and it really does something to the spirit, and it just, I ain't gonna say it cuts you off, but it covers your ears to where you can't hear and see what's really going on in the spiritual realm. I did smoke a little bit of weed. I'm gonna just say a little bit of weed, so I kind of know a little bit. I mean, but not a cigarette smoker. Okay. And the Lord crieth out in despair, how weak am I, O Jehovah, before thee? I took upon me to be Lord over men of the earth, to learn my lesson in the government of worlds. But, O Jehovah, I know I failed in thy sight. What will thy God say when he beholdeth my little good? What pity have the archangels for thy struggling Lord of the earth? God perceiveth the sorrow of his friend, and he said, O Jehovah, who art almighty, how keener hast thou made our sense of our own weakness than those who have looked upon us. Thy Lord is my God, in the glories he hath wrought out such a cruel substance, and I sing to his praise and love. Lo, I have looked upon the naked man and woman of this great land, crawling on hands and feet, with no thought but to eat. And I have seen them raised up by lords and his ashars, to walk upright and use words of speech, and to wear clothes and skins to hide their nakedness. Yea, O Father, I have cried out with great joy, and I called aloud unto thee, O Jehovah, saying, who knoweth the labor of the Lord? Will man ever forget to sing praises to the Lord God? But Jehovah saith, I will keep some of the tribes of men in darkness till the last days, for man in his conceit shall be confounded. For he shall perceive that the tribes of darkness cannot put away their own darkness. Yea, man shall bow down in reverence to my lords in the early days of the earth. Thus conversed God and his Lord as they went forth to see the work of the Lord, and to find the mortals that had given up the places of Asu and come to live in the villages and cities around about over the continent of Jud. They traveled for many days and nights, and when God had seen all the work of the Lord, he said, behold, it is good. Thy toil and seclusion away from the Lords of the upper heavens are severe, but thou art fashioning the love of millions, who shall bless thee. Now, whilst God sojourned here, and reference 6 says hither, for here. Here and hither is interchanged. Now, whilst God sojourned here, his hosts regaled themselves with the company of the Ashars and Asaphs in the kingdom of the Lord, and great was the love and rejoicing amongst them. Yes, Robin, our bodies are sacred temples that house the spirit. Okay, y'all, next chapter will be at 28 minutes. We'll read chapter 9, then we'll pause. Okay, chapter 9. When God's visit was ended and the host notified, the Lord gave a banquet that lasted 2 days and nights, during which the angels sang and danced and trumpeted before God. After that, God and his host embarked on the ship in readiness to proceed to the journey, and the Lord went up to the ship to take leave, and his host went with him. God said, when Dan approacheth, we shall meet again. May Jehovah prosper thy harvest till then. The Lord said, that is another 100 years. O God, I almost live in the wilderness. I have not 10 millions of souls, mortals and spirits. And God said, thy kingdom shall be mighty when I come again. May it glorify Jehovah. They embraced and separated. Each gave the sign of Jehovah's name. Upward raised the ship of God with banners outstretched and new ornamented by the Lord's angels. Let me read that again. I read it too slow. They embraced and separated. Each gave the sign of Jehovah's name. Upward raised the ship of God with banners outstretched and new ornamented by the Lord's angels. And now, taking course still west, sped on above the mountain tops like a meteor hurled from heaven. Meanwhile, the trumpeters gave forth the gladly solemn sound of the march of God. But ere the ship had made half its journey, an approaching light came forth from the far west, radiant and laden with hosts from the Lord of Dis, D-I-S, from the Lord of Dis and the Lord of the earth also. When the ship drew near and halted, God called with a loud voice, saying, In Jehovah's name, all hail. I know my Lord cometh. And thereupon the Lord answered, Hail to thee, O God, Son of Jehovah. And they turned the Lord's ship and lashed the twain together, even as they sped on. Now, after they had all exchanged welcome and good wishes, the Lord said, we go to my central throne. Let us survey the continent over which thy servant is Lord of land and water. And God answered, Thy will be done, O Lord. And so they journeyed for many days, off descending to the earth in places where the Lord's angels had begun colonies with mortals, impressing man with words and speech, and to live in villages. And God said that all he saw was good and well done, so that they came to the throne of the Lord. So they came to the throne of the Lord and halted and sojourned for 60 days. And God and his hosts and the Lord and his Ashars and Asaphs were together in general reunion, praying, singing, and dancing, and reasoning on the endless works of Jehovah. But one book could not contain all that was said and done, and of the excursions made, and the visits over the plains and mountains, where in thousands of years hence man should live and build cities and go to war and destroy them. And the mathematicians foretold the great cities and nations that would rise up, how this one and that one would move to battle, how their great cities would fall in ruins and be covered up by falling nebula and by denuding mountains washing down upon them, so that even their remembrance should be lost. And yet, further on, the mathematicians foretold the coming of Cosman, when the ruined cities would be discovered and their histories deciphered by the suis of man in great Jehovah's hand. And now, when all things were estimated, the prophets and mathematicians went before God according to the commandments of the Lord, and they spake before God, Son of Jehovah, telling all these wonders. When they had finished, God said, What is our service on the earth, O Lord? A few centuries at most, and we will have risen up from the earth, taking our hosts with us to dwell in higher realms. Oh my God, y'all look. It's this black cat that scares the crap out of me, right? It just walked by my... Sometimes my mind be like a squirrel. But this cat scared the crap out of me. Listen. It's this black cat. It doesn't have any ears. I am not lying. There was a city leak here in front of our house a few weeks ago, and one of the meters, when they come out and check the water meters, one of the meters down on our side was broken, and it was causing the hole in the ground. You know how they covered up with like the little manhole heavy cover to cover it up? Okay, the water meter cover. So it kept overflowing. So I finally called the city, and they sent somebody out, and they said it was broken and there was a leak. Okay, so with this water flowing and the days being nice, it's like always this puddle of water running down from this meter till they get it repaired. And the cats and squirrels and birds come drink from this flowing water that just runs. Right? I'm like, listen, y'all better make sure that ain't gonna run up my water bill. So it hasn't. But anyway, one particular day, there's a black cat that came and it started drinking water. Me and James was sitting right here, and I was looking, I'm like, what's that cat got something on his head? And then we got closer to the window. I was like, oh my God, what happened to the cat's ears? Look, and I'm probably saying it so loud. The cat looked up. We looking at the cat, and I'm like, what happened to your ears, kitty? And the cat just looked at me, looked back down, and continued drinking. I never seen anything in my life. I don't know if this cat has been abused or it's been gotten into a fight with a mountain lion or something. I don't know. But the cat has no ears. Maybe it was a birth defect or something. I don't know. But I thought, because I ain't seen it in a couple days, I'm like, may the black cat with no ears rest in peace, because I ain't seen it in a while. But there it goes again. I don't know what's wrong with this cat. And it is right here. Oh my God. I know that's horrible to say, about a living creature, but it is absolutely terrifying to look at. It really is. It's something like out of a horror movie. Whew, I know, I should be bigger than the cat, shouldn't I? You'd be surprised. No, let me okay, let me finish reading this. Quit being silly. But yeah, y'all, I'm telling you, it is scary. Like, until that black cat is gone, that black cat with no ears, I would not leave out. I ain't gonna leave out the house. I don't know. It's weird. It's just really weird to look at. And you can, it's not like they're just missing. Because you know how the inside of ears, animal ears look? It's like, that's like on the outside, like it's, maybe it might be swollen or something. I don't know. But it's absolutely disgusting. I don't even know if it's a wild cat, if it's somebody that live over here, if it's their cat, if it's some person over here, they apparently just don't care. They should have took it to the vet or something, or I ain't gonna say just kill it because it looks horrible, but I mean, that's horrible to say. I mean, because if something, I wouldn't want nobody to kill me just because something went wrong in me, but I'm just, you gotta forgive me. Sometimes I can be a bit shallow. The Lord is still working on me. Let me go back. I done lost my spot. This darn black cat with no ears and threw me off. Hold on. Let me just go back to verse 15. Okay. When they had finished, God said, "What is our service on earth, O Lord? A few centuries at most, and we will have risen up from the earth, taking our hosts with us to dwell in higher realms. But there shall be other gods and lords after us to deal with mortals and spirits newly born. After a while, there shall be great warriors and great cities and nations, and they shall have gods and lords of their times who will dwell with a weary year, a century in the darkness with man. After that again, even the gods and lords will be forgotten, and man will turn against great Jehovah, putting to death his adherents, preferring idols of stone and metal and spirits born of woman." The Lord said, "And yet further on a brighter light adorneth the way. Great Jehovah's hand sendeth the traveling worlds into the light of Cosmon, and new prophets arrive, gathering up the history's lost, a glorious plan of the Great Spirit over all." I guess that's where we fall in. It what? It's a Scottish fold cat. They look like what? Like they were like born that way, like on purpose. Ugh, I'm gonna have to look it up. Oh, goodness gracious. The Lord said, and yet further on a brighter light adorneth the way. Great Jehovah's hand sendeth the traveling worlds into the light of Cosmon, and the new prophets arise, gathering up the history's lost, a glorious plan of the Great Spirit over all. Yea, even thy labor and my ships will be seen by mortals of that day. Thus they discoursed, reading the past and the future, and weighing the present, whilst angels, less informed, gather around to learn how worlds are peopled and nations and cities destroyed, the far off and the near at hand being as nothing in Jehovah's vast universe. But the time came for God's departure, and he and his traveling host embarked, and the Lord and his angels drew around to receive God's prayer ere he left. And so after they had embraced and parted, God said, though I go away, my love abideth with you all. And now, O Jehovah, bless these my fellow laborers and make them strong to endure their great trials. Thine is the power and glory, O Father. Amen. The ship rose up, and the trumpeters gave forth. Glory to thee, O Jehovah, forever and ever. And this is where we're going to pause at today. We'll pick this back up with chapter 10 tomorrow. All right, y'all. I wish that cat would go somewhere. I gotta leave out of here. All right, y'all. We pause. I'm sure to be gone by the time I leave out the door. I'm gonna have to be like, shoot, get away from me, cat. Stomp my foot or something. Okay. All right, y'all. So we paused on page 54, and we were talking about meditation. Not meditation, yoga. And it's going to give just a little bit more detail about what yoga is and its definition. Okay. Quote, salvation is the freeing of the soul from its bodily fetters, becoming a God through knowledge and wisdom, controlling the forces of the cosmos instead of being a slave to them, subduing the lower nature, and through awakening the higher self, ending the cycle of rebirth and dwelling with the netters who direct and control the great plan. I'm kind of reading about the netters in the OAHSPE, right? Netters over here is called gods and goddesses, and then you have the lords, right? They're considered the netters. Okay, a nettiers, netter, pronounced a few different ways. Okay. Egyptian yoga is a revolutionary new way to understand and practice ancient Egyptian mysticism, the ancient Egyptian mystical religion, Shatu Neter. Egyptian yoga is what has been commonly referred to by Egyptologists as Egyptian religion or mythology. But to just think of it as another set of stories or allegories about a long-lost civilization is to completely miss the greatest secret of human existence. What is yoga? The literal meaning of the word yoga is to yoke or to link back. The implication is to link back individual consciousness to its original source, the original essence, universal consciousness. In a broad sense, yoga is any process which helps one to achieve liberation or freedom from the bondage to human pain and spiritual ignorance. So whatever you engage in any activity with the goal of promoting the discovery of your true self, be it studying the wisdom teachings, exercise, fasting, meditation, breath control, rituals, chanting, prayer, etc., you are practicing yoga. If the goal is to help you to discover your essential nature as one with God or the supreme being or consciousness, then it is yoga. Yoga in all of its forms as the disciplines of spiritual development as practiced in ancient Egypt earlier than anywhere else in history. Hold on, read that again. Yoga in all of its forms as the discipline of spiritual development. That is not a sentence. Okay, read it again. Yoga in all of its forms as the disciplines of spiritual development as practiced in ancient Egypt earlier than anywhere else in history. What? Maybe as should be was. Let me try it again. Yoga in all of its forms as the disciplines of spiritual development was practiced in ancient Egypt earlier than anywhere else in history. Yeah, I think that as should be a was. Maybe it was a typo. The ancient scriptures describe how Asar, the first mythical king of ancient Egypt, traveled throughout Asia and Europe, establishing civilization and the practice of religion. This partially explains why the teachings of mystical spirituality, known as yoga and Vedanta, in India are so similar to the teachings of Shatu Neter, ancient Egyptian religion, Egyptian yoga. This unique perspective from the highest philosophical system, which developed in Africa over 7,000 years ago, provides a new way to look at life, religion, psychology, and the way to spiritual development, leading to spiritual enlightenment. So Egyptian yoga is not merely a philosophy, but a discipline for promoting spiritual evolution in a human being, allowing him or her to discover the ultimate truth, supreme peace, and utmost joy which lies within the human heart. These are the true worthwhile goals of life. Anything else is settling for less. It would be like a personality who owns vast riches, thinking that he is poor and homeless. Every human being has the potential to discover the greatest treasure of all existence if they apply themselves to the study and practice of the teachings of yoga with the proper guidance. Sema, and it has the shovel symbol. Sema is the ancient Egyptian word and symbol meaning union or yoga. This is the vision of Egyptian yoga. When we look out upon the world, we are often baffled by the multiplicity which constitutes the human experience. What do we really know about this experience? Many scientific disciplines have developed over the last 200 years for the purpose of discovering the mysteries of nature, but this search has only engendered new questions about the nature of existence. Yoga is a discipline or a way of life designed to promote the physical, mental, and spiritual development of the human being. It leads a person to discover the answers to most important questions of life, such as, who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? As explained earlier, the literal meaning of the word yoga is to yoke or to link back, the implication being to link the individual consciousness back to the original source, the original essence, that which transcends all mental and intellectual attempts at comprehension, but is the essential nature of everything in creation, termed universal consciousness, or we would call universal consciousness Yahuwah, right? While in the strict sense, yoga may be seen as a separate discipline from religion, yoga and religion have been linked at many points throughout history and continue to be linked even today. In a manner of speaking, yoga as a discipline may be seen as a non-sectarian, transpersonal science or practice to promote spiritual development and harmony of mind and body throughout mental and physical disciplines, including meditation, psychophysical exercises, and performing action with the correct attitude. The teachings which were practiced in the ancient Egyptian temples were the same ones later intellectually defined into a literary form by the Indian sages of Vedanta and Yoga. This was discussed in our book, Egyptian Yoga, The Philosophy of Enlightenment. The Indian mysteries of Yoga and Vedanta may therefore be understood as representing an unfolding exposition of the Egyptian mysteries. The question is how to accomplish these seemingly impossible tasks, how to transform yourself and realize the deepest mysteries of existence, how to discover who am I. This is the mission of yoga philosophy and the purpose of yogic practices. Yoga does not seek to convert or impose religious beliefs on anyone. Ancient Egypt was the source of civilization and the source of religion and yoga. Therefore, all systems of mystical spirituality can coexist harmoniously within these teachings when they are correctly understood. The goal of yoga is to promote integration of the mind, body, spirit complex in order to produce optimal health of the human being. This is accomplished through mental and physical exercises which promote the free flow of spiritual energy by reducing mental complexes caused by ignorance. There are two roads which human beings can follow, one of wisdom and the other of ignorance. The path of the masses is generally the path of ignorance, which leads them into negative situations, thoughts, and deeds. These, in turn, lead to ill health and sorrow in life. The other road is based on wisdom, and it leads to health, true happiness, and enlightenment. I think we might use that for the title for today. Two roads a human being can follow, one of wisdom and the other of ignorance. Okay. The central, I might use the earless cat. I don't know. The cat got to be in the title somewhere. Oh yeah, 51 minutes. The central and most popular character within ancient Egyptian religion of Asar is Haru, who is an incarnation of his father, Asar. Asar is killed by his brother Set, who, out of greed and demonic or Satan tendency, craves to be the ruler of Egypt. With the help of Jehudi, the god of wisdom, Aset, the great mother, and Hetharu, his consort, Haru prevails in the battle against Set for the for the rulership of Egypt. Haru's struggle symbolizes the struggle of every human being to regain rulership of the higher self and to subdue the lower self. With this understanding, the land of Egypt is equivalent to the kingdom or the queendom concept of Christianity. The most ancient writings in our historical period are from the ancient Egyptians. These writings are referred to as hieroglyphics. Also, the most ancient civilization known was the ancient Egyptian civilization. The proof of this lies in the ancient Sphinx, which is over 12,000 years old. The original name given to these writings by the ancient Egyptians is Metu Neter, or it's also pronounced Meta Neter, right? So I was saying that fast. Let me finish reading this. The original name given to these writings, the hieroglyphics, by the ancient Egyptians is Metu Neter, meaning the writing of God, or Neter Metu, or divine speech. Or also, I've heard it pronounced, and I think this is the proper pronunciation, Meta Neter, right? Meta Neter. So I was saying that while I was trying to remember how to say it. Was it day before yesterday? I was like, Meta Neter, Meta Neter, Metu Neter, Meta Neter, Meta Neter, Meta Neter. I'm like, that kind of sounds like Mother Nature. I was like, wait a minute. I read something earlier about Neter being where nature derived itself from, but that's like, it's going to get into that, right? Meta Nature, Mother Nature. All right, read it again. The original name given to these writings by the ancient Egyptians is Meta Neter, meaning the writing of God, or Meta, or divine speech. These writings were inscribed in temples, coffins, and papyruses, and contained the teachings in reference to the spiritual nature of the human being and the ways to promote spiritual emancipation, awakening, or resurrection. The ancient Egyptian proverbs presented in this text are translated from the original hieroglyphic scriptures. An example of hieroglyphic text is presented on the front cover. Okay. Egyptian philosophy may be summed up in the following proverbs, which clearly state that the soul is heavenly or divine, and that the human being must awaken to the true reality, which is the spirit self. And then ancient Egyptian proverbs. And the first one is, self-knowledge is the basis of true knowledge. The second one is, soul to heaven, body to earth. The third one is, man is to become godlike through a life of virtue and the cultivation of the spirit through scientific knowledge and practice and bodily discipline. The fourth one, salvation is accomplished through the efforts of the individual. There is no mediator between man and his or her salvation. 5, salvation is the freeing of the soul from its bodily fetters, becoming a God through knowledge and wisdom, controlling the forces of the cosmos instead of being a slave to them, subduing the lower nature, and through awakening the higher self, ending the cycle of rebirth and dwelling with the netters who direct and control the great plan. And we read that one. That was at the beginning of this chapter. All right, y'all. So this next portion, I'll read a little bit of this. We got a few minutes. The next section is the Smai-Tawi of wisdom, or the Sematawi of wisdom. In the temple of Aset in ancient Egypt, the discipline of the yoga of wisdom is imparted in 3 stages. The threefold process of wisdom yoga in Egypt. That was a title. The threefold process of wisdom yoga in Egypt. According to the teachings of the ancient temple of Aset, the yoga of wisdom entails the process of 3 steps. The first is listening to the wisdom teachings on the nature of reality or creation and the nature of the self. The second one is reflecting on those teachings and incorporating them into daily life. All right, babe.
I love you.
Let me see.
Call me.
Okay, you think you're going to make the...
I'm going to try. I think I will.
Okay. Well, I'll be there.
She said afternoon, right?
Mm-hmm. Probably about 1:30.
Just call me when you finish up.
Okay.
I love you.
Love you too. And the third is meditating. Meditating on the meaning of the teachings. And so it goes through and it repeats it again. 1, listening to the wisdom teachings on the nature of reality, creation, and the nature of self. 2, reflecting on those teachings and incorporating them into daily life. And 3, meditating on the meanings of the teachings. Aset was and is recognized as the goddess of wisdom, and her temple strongly emphasized and espoused the philosophy of wisdom teaching in order to achieve higher spiritual consciousness. What? When I'm done, I'll get it for you. All right? I'm almost done. Bella, chill. I'm almost done. I literally got a few more minutes. Don't start. Bella, calm down. Bella, go upstairs and do all that. Okay. No, I said I get it when I'm done. If you keep on whining, you won't get it at all. Chill out. All right, y'all. Hold on 1 second. Upstairs. Upstairs. Go. Okay, I'm going to read this little paragraph. We're going to be done. Okay. Aset was and is recognized as the goddess of wisdom, and her temple strongly emphasized and espoused the philosophy of wisdom teaching in order to achieve higher spiritual consciousness. It is important to note here that the teaching which was practiced in the ancient Egyptian temple of Aset, of listening to, reflecting upon, and meditating upon the teachings, is the same process used in Vedanta Yana yoga of India today. The yoga of wisdom is a form of yoga based on insight into the nature of worldly existence and the transcendental self, thereby transforming one's consciousness through the development of the wisdom faculty. Thus, we have here a correlation between ancient Egypt that matches exactly in its basic factor respects. Then next page is the temple of a set, general discipline. And it has a figure up here. I'm going to show this to you. It says the figure, the image of the goddess Aset, suckling the young king, who is the quintessential symbol of initiation in ancient Egypt. Okay. Right here. That's for Facebook. I'm not sure if YouTube can see it yet, but this is for Facebook to see. All right, YouTube. Okay. Oh, I should have showed y'all this too. Okay, general discipline. And it has the hieroglyphics here. Right there. And this. Okay, for YouTube. And that is translated as, fill the ears, listen attentively, meshert. I probably pronounced that wrong. Listening to wisdom teachings, having achieved the qualifications of an aspirant, there is a desire to listen to the teachings from a spiritual preceptor. There is increasing intellectual understanding of the scriptures and the meaning of truth versus untruth, real versus unreal, temporal versus eternal. The glories of God are expounded, and the mystical philosophy behind the myth is given at this stage. So a lot of us have definitely entered into the listening phase of like meditation and just the general disciplines of growing our spirit, right? And so the next hieroglyph is here. I'll make sure I'm holding it straight. Right here. And that's Maui. And that is translated as to think, to ponder, to fix attention, concentration. Reflection on those things that have been listened to and living according to the disciplines enjoined by the teachings is to be practiced until the wisdom teaching is fully understood. Reflection implies discovering intellectually at first the oneness behind the multiplicity of the world by engaging in intense inquiry into the nature of one's true self. Chanting the Hakau or Haku and divine singing Hesi are also used here. So chanting Haku, y'all remember what that is, right? It's what Christians will call praying in tongues, or it's also called a mantra. But in ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt, it's called a Hakau. All right. Quote, devote yourself to adore God's name, end quote. And that's an ancient Egyptian proverb. All right, so this last hieroglyph down here is Ua, pronounced Ua in ancient Kemet or ancient Egyptian language. Ua means meditation. Meditation in wisdom yoga is the process of reflection that leads to a state in which the mind is continuously introspective. It means expansion of consciousness, culminating in revelation and identification with the absolute self, or with Yah. Note, it is important to note here that the same teaching which was practiced in ancient Egypt of listening to, reflecting upon, and meditating upon the teachings is the same process used in Vedanta Yana Yoga from India of today. All right, and so we'll pause right here because the next one is going to get into the scriptures of the Pert M. Huru, right? It mentions it. Okay. All right, yeah, we'll pause right here since we're at an hour and 5 minutes and I got to get out of here. So I hope y'all enjoyed the reading for today. My little small detour with the earless cat. I'm sorry. Scottish fold cat.
Mom,
Yes.
you snatch it from him. No.
Why do you want me to snatch it from him?
Don't.
Y'all, how about y'all leave it alone? Everybody leave it alone. Everybody leave it alone.
You just.
Thank you. Bella. All right, y'all. It is Thursday, April 21st, 2022, day 88 of year 4 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets. Another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1106. We read in the OAHSPE pages 22 through 25, and we read pages 54 through 58 in meditation. Bella, you're not going to get it. No, I told you, stop the whining. You still want to whine. All right, y'all. It's going to probably just get a little bit louder from this point. Thank y'all for hanging out. May y'all bless you today in all that you do. And I'll see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace.
No!
Come on.